Thank you. I'm happy to be here. I'm embarrassed to be in the time slot that Omar Gobash was to be in because he's a much better speaker than I am. He's much more handsome, and I'm a bad fill-in for Omar, so please convey my apologies. I'm grateful to Asma for having taken the risk of inviting me back here for another appearance at her always wonderful and fascinating salon. Am I holding the microphone in the right place? Can you hear me? Okay. In my previous appearances here, I've commented about cinema or done events about cinema. And when Asma told me she would be doing something about the Silk Road this year, I was very excited because there are great films from the Silk Road countries to which too little attention is paid. So I immediately imagined being able to do a wonderful, ambitious event about films from Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan. By the way, have any of you, I think I know the answer. I know one person who has seen at least one film from Kazakhstan in this room. Has anyone else here seen even one film from any of the countries I mentioned? Raise your hand if you have. No, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan.
We saw Afghanistan.
That's not well, it's a Silk Road country, but it's not a Central Asian country. So someday soon, I hope to present a series of those wonderful films because all of those countries have produced some terrific films in the last 40 years. Each one of them has at least one great filmmaker, and their works are not shown anywhere, even in professional circles. So one of these days. But I realized that an hour or so at Multaka would not suffice for an event like that. And then I remembered another wonderful film with the Silk Road connection, which is the film I'm happy to share at least a part of with you tonight. It's a film called The Music of Strangers. It's about a groundbreaking group of musicians from all over the world who in fact appeared here in Abu Dhabi just a couple of weeks ago under the auspices of ADIBF. And it was their fourth appearance here. Why were they here? Who are they? That's what this film is about. Fortunately, last year they were the subject of this terrific documentary, The Music of Strangers. But before I talk about the film and about Yo-Yo Ma, I'd like to mention something that you may or may not know. I didn't. And I always think if I'm excited to discover something, maybe other people will be. What was the Silk Road about? What is it about? Why was it called the Silk Road? Why is it called the Silk Road? For centuries, trade was conducted along the Silk Road, and as in most cases, trade was fundamentally based on one of two things. Things that tasted good or that felt good. So the Silk Road, the Spice Road are really two different names for the same kind of thing. You've got something I want. Oh, I've got something you want? We can trade. I hadn't understood until after digging a bit deeper that it wasn't until after the death of Alexander the Great in the 4th century before Christ, after he had assembled the greatest empire known until that time, and after all, since he was a student of Aristotle, under his influence, Greek was spoken far more widely than it ever had been before, and his empire, blended with those of Persia, of India, of Central Asia, and China, was enormous and was extraordinarily powerful. But that culture was soon threatened by the fierce nomadic tribes who ruled over the steppes of Mongolia and the grasslands of what is now the northern part of China. Contemporary writers spoke of these nomads as barbarians who ate raw meat and drank blood and were a people, quote, who have been abandoned by heaven. Inevitably, however, the Chinese had to begin to trade with them, whether simply as trade or to pay tribute because of their power. And the most important item they traded was silk, along with rice and wine. The most important item was silk because the nomads treasured it for its texture and for the fact that as bedding and as clothing, it was very light And for nomads, the lightness of silk was as important as its smoothness. It also became a symbol of political and social power, because for a ruler to be wrapped in voluminous quantities of silk was a way of displaying his own status and to reward those around him. And in fact, the value of silk was even higher than money and grain, because for troops fighting in remote theaters of war, coins were almost worthless, and grain would rot after a while. But silk retained its value, and it became the most important item of trade and stayed the most important item of trade for a very long time. Tomorrow, a little ad, my wife will be here to discuss some examples of the amazing silk artworks she's been collecting recently, and I hope you'll be back here for that at 1 o'clock tomorrow. It's much more interesting than this presentation. In any event, the Silk Road was never just about the exchange of goods. It became an invaluable place to exchange ideas and traditions, and it has endured until the present day for that reason. The Silk Road Ensemble was formed 18 years ago by the celebrated cellist Yo-Yo Ma. Yo-Yo Ma was born to Chinese parents in Paris, and they moved to the US when he was 7. He, at the age of 7, obviously moved with them. And when he was 7, in 1962, he appeared in public for the first time on a national broadcast organized by the great American composer and conductor Leonard Bernstein. And in the audience were the President of the US, John F. Kennedy, and his wife, Jackie Kennedy. You'll see a little clip of that in the film you're about to see. A 7-year-old cellist was already announcing his extraordinary talent. He grew from a child prodigy to a master, and quickly became widely known as one of the world's finest classical cellists, both in his performances on stage and in the studio. Then he branched out to other forms of music, to bluegrass, to tango, to jazz, and to other projects. His creation of the Silk Road Ensemble was a natural evolution of his interests, and he invited to join him musicians from more than 20 different countries. And their performances and their recordings include music from both East and West. They've recorded 6 albums, some of which have won Grammy Awards. And the film, again, which you will see in a moment, focuses on some of the key members of the group. Kenan Azme, who's a clarinet player from Syria. Wu Man, who's a young woman from China who plays a string instrument called the pipa. Kayhan Kalor, who's a fabulous Iranian musician who plays the kamanche, the spiked fiddle. And a woman from Galicia, the autonomous region in the northwest of Spain, who plays the Galician bagpipe. And of course there's Yo-Yo Ma himself, who plays not only the cello, but other instruments like the morin kur, which is a Mongolian instrument called the horsehead fiddle. Yo-Yo Ma is not only a great cellist, he's one of those rare people who can make even a hardened cynic believe that artistic and personal integrity go together. He's one of the most adventurous minds I think I've ever heard of. He doesn't do projects like this to generate publicity, but because he believes in what this project is about. So let me now shut up and show you at least some of the music of strangers.
You need the sound, sir?
I do need the sound, yes.
Sir, just pause for a moment.
I'm pausing while we ask for the sound.
On the laptop. Sir, you can play.
Sorry?
Does it have the sound? It's not from here. voice and the voxels.
Okay. That was entirely my mistake. Well, I thought it was entirely my mistake.
Which one is the sound? It's good. This sounds good. Sounds okay. It's on the box side.
We need it here.
Isn't this connected?
This one. Yeah, this is one.
So why is it no sound? Didn't we test this?
Sit here, sit here. Yes,
I withdraw my apology. It wasn't my fault after all. But I'm sure I'll have other things to apologize for.
Don't worry.
The sound is coming from here. It's not coming from where it's supposed to be coming from.
We need the sound from the TV, not from the laptop.
Because maybe you are connected to HDMI, that's why sound is not good. Yeah, HDMI there is no.
What do you mean HDMI now?
Yeah, but you have to be connected. This is you can connect this laptop because when you connect to HDMI, so this is sound is.
But didn't we have sound when you tested this a few minutes ago?
And everyone used sound. And in the morning. But there was sound a minute ago. 10 minutes ago we tried it and it worked.
See?
The sound is here and it's playing through this machine. It's not playing through your cable.
Really? Really?
That's the problem?
Have a sip of water.
But now we
Yeah.
don't have it again.
Many precedent career cellist Yo-Yo Ma is a testament to his continual search for new ways to communicate with audiences.
Tell you about my
personal desire for artistic growth and renewal.
It's not pretty.
Mr. Ma maintains a balance between his engagements as a soloist with orchestras
That's funny.
and his recital and chamber music.
A lot of balance.
He's recorded over 90 albums, including more than 17 Grammy Awards.
Forget it.
Yo-Yo Ma began
This
playing the
is
cello
just all statistics here. Like,
Juilliard.
I stole half of it.
You went to Julia?
No.
I didn't get
Let's
in
make
there.
that up. No. Thank goodness.
President's Committee of the Arts and Humanities.
After Mr. Ma's remarks tonight, we will have an opportunity to ask questions.
Christians.
Well,
no.
So without any further ado, please welcome Yo-Yo Ma. Hi there.
Hi. I'll start off with this. There's an old joke. A 6-year-old boy tells his father, when I grow up, I want to be a musician. The father looks at the son, shakes his head sadly and says, I'm sorry, son, you can't do both. I think when I was a kid, a lot of things just happened.
There has come to us this year a young man aged 7 bearing the name Yo-Yo Ma, a Chinese cellist playing old French music for his new American compatriots.
Being good at something can carry you really far for a long period of time and not require a lot of introspection, right? Because you're good at it and everyone tells you that.
I would think that somebody who has mastered his art so early in life, so completely, would have the problem that most Wunderkinder have, which is, how do you keep your interest up?
That's part of my problem. When you grow up with something, you kind of don't make a choice. I never committed to being a musician. No, I just did it. I fell into it. I was interested in a lot of things, but didn't particularly pursue any of those.
Leon Kirshner said to him when he was young, "You're a phenomenal musician, but you haven't found your voice." And this notion was stuck in my dad's mind. What does that mean? How do you do that? I think he started looking for answers.
I'm always trying to figure out, at some level, who I am and how I fit in the world, which I think is something that I share with 7 billion other people.
I was calling my mom in Damascus before you guys came in. She's like, "Oh, Kinan, did you clean the place?" I'm like, "Yes, mom, it's okay." She just to make sure. No, she wants to make sure that the CDs are not here because they're like there, and it's like, "Is it all tidy?" I said, like, "Yes, I tried my best. It's gonna be fine." So. I mean, growing up in Damascus was great. Just had, lots of friends and family. I don't think of myself as somebody who just, packed his stuff and left, actually. I mean, I still have a little apartment back in Damascus. And my parents are still there. I miss it a lot. I do miss it. Now I'm thinking a lot, like, what is home? Is it where your friends are? Is it where your family are? Is it the place where you grew up, or is it the place where you want to die? I mean, all these questions. And I think now I'm realizing that it's basically the place where you feel you want to contribute to without having to justify it. And here's your coffee. Whoever wants my little Arabic coffee. I mean, since I left Syria, lots of things have changed.
There's always a fight in each one of us between believing in the power of the human spirit and dreading the power of the human spirit.
March 2011, when the Syrian revolution started, I found myself experiencing emotions that are by far more complex than what I can express with my music. So the music fell short, and I found myself not able to write any music. Like, can a piece of music stop a bullet? Can it feed somebody who's hungry? Of course it doesn't. You question the role of art altogether.
When I was a student at Harvard, Leonard Bernstein came to visit in his lectures. He was searching for a universal musical language. That idea stuck with me ever since.
What's the relevance of all this musico-linguistics? Can it lead us to an answer of Charles Ives' unanswered question, whither music? And even if it eventually can, does it matter? The world totters, governments crumble, and we are poring over music.
Out of the 35 years I've been married, I've been gone for 22 of those years, away, traveling. I used to throw up before every trip, I just feel so awful and anxious and just like, it's like I get so paralyzed. What is my role? I better find a good reason to say, why am I doing this?
Play a song.
What's your song?
Play Iron Man.
My interest is kind of a jump out of the box. Not only limiting myself as a Chinese musician or pipa player. Thank you. What do you do? This one.
I mean, Wuman was not supposed to be here. She was just supposed to be a music professor, right? At the Central Conservatory somewhere in China.
I remember 1966 starts the Cultural Revolution. And my parents actually asked me to learn music to escape from that situation.
Wuman was in the first class of students that re-entered conservatory after the Chinese Cultural Revolution. And she became a sensation overnight.
We had no information about Western culture.
Right after the revolution, everything was destroyed culturally. So we are standing on the ruins, dreaming what's the next music.
Oh, surprise, they open. It's all very different. Isaac Stern gave a master class here, right here on this stage. It's like open another idea. It opened the door to me. American orchestra. That's very interesting. I wanted to see what's going on outside China.
In the 80s, when I was asked in an interview about what my next project might be.
What's next for you?
And casting about for something, anything. I said that I've always been fascinated by, guess what? The Bushmen of the Kalahari Desert. Yeah.
I think he went because he wanted to put some dirt in his bones. He wanted to get down into the soil. He wanted something that was going to radically alter his ways of thinking about things.
Shoot. Where the hell is the F? There we go.
I'll tell you one thing that stayed with me that actually became the event that unlocked all of this. They do a trance dance. And I was invited to participate. They get into trance and then they lay hands on people who need healing. I asked the women why they do their trance ritual. And they said the clearest reason for music, for culture, for medicine, for religion, they said, because it gives us meaning.
So one day, I sat with Yo-Yo at the cafe, and we were talking about where creativity comes from, where new ideas come from. And so he drew on a napkin at the bar, he drew circles intersecting. And he said, and then he shaded the intersection. He said, this is a culture, this is another culture. And in the intersection, that's where new things will emerge.
The Silk Road project, we started as an idea, a group of musicians getting together and seeing what might happen when strangers meet. We went and scoured from Venice through to Istanbul, Central Asia, Mongolia, and China, looking for incredible talent.
This was like the Manhattan Project of music. We invited about 60 performers and composers from the lands of the Silk Road, meeting in a kind of workshop. No one knew what was going to happen.
Is this yo-yo go off his tracks or something? What did he drink, you know?
We gathered summer of 2000 in Massachusetts. Frankly, I was scared to death.
Yo-Yo Ma is, of course, a golden child. He can touch anything and do anything, and everybody thinks it's great. But you could not expect that someone from Africa or China picks up on the subtleties of the culture that is not their own.
A lot of people thought that what we were doing was not pure. It's, what is it called? Cultural tourism. Let's go.
Beautiful. This is basic rhythm. I mean, this is not the extra instrument.
Kayhan, he's such a well-known figure in Iran, and he was here at the very beginning. That's fantastic.
Oh.
So the nail going back and forth, right?
Yeah. Right, left, two rights. My intention is to represent my culture and the contribution that this very old culture made to human life. If you go back, in the beginning of the 20th century, every Eastern culture was so fascinated with West. The technology, cars, and music, of course. My instrument, Kamancha, it was not being taught. And I was really lucky because I got to professional music very early, so I had the chance to work with the older generation.
Kayhan, he brings you closer to the horse or to the cow or to the source, that you forget. But Kayhan has had a very tragic life.
The revolution. Chaos. You realize that your life's not going to be the same anymore. I was 17. My parents decided that I had to leave. I just walked out of the country like that. I worked little by little in every country, kind of farm work. Turkey for 9 months, and then Romania, Yugoslavia, Italy. Yeah, I had a little backpack, and I had a Kamancha. That was it. When I left, meeting a lot of different world musicians, that was very attractive to me. I always wanted to do something outside of my culture. I think that was a very important turning point in my career.
How's it going, Kayla?
Fine. We definitely need more rehearsal time, but they're very good musicians, and they're much better than yesterday. So there is hope.
The Tango workshop was fantastic because we don't speak necessarily perfect English or perfect Chinese or perfect Persian, but we speak perfect music language.
Some projects, you know at the end of it, that's wonderful. It was a great thing, but it's done. This one is different. You make
that difference. That difference is what inspired them to continue this project. Is it off?
No, go ahead.
It's that difference that inspired the Silk Road Ensemble to continue. And it's interesting, remember I said it began in 2000. The world changed in September 2001. And suddenly the atmosphere in which their work existed changed. The idea of cultures mixing, of cultures learning from each other, became the idea of cultures mixing and learning from each other had another political tone to it after September 2001. And interestingly, shortly before the Silk Road Ensemble came to Abu Dhabi again a few weeks ago for their 4th appearance, Yo-Yo Ma in February issued a statement because of what the new president of the United States had attempted to do and then failed and then did again and failed and will probably keep trying to do, to keep immigrants from 7 Muslim countries out of the United States. He wrote a very strong protest against that, saying, in effect, we're all immigrants. All the people in this film, all the people in this project are immigrants. The Syrian clarinetist whom you've seen, Kenan Azma, wrote a brief text that I think is a wonderful way of ending this program. He said, culture matters. Culture is not a luxury. And the fact that we get exposed to music and art and cinema and cuisine and dance, it's not a luxury, it's something all of humanity should be able to enjoy. And engaging with it makes you a better person. People always talk about cross-cultural collaboration as if it's an exception. But shouldn't it be the norm? Shouldn't we all feel at home in a variety of places? Shouldn't we be able to speak several languages? And music offers the best background for that. I think closing your doors to people who don't look like you or like what you like should be the exception. The more healthy society is the society that is open. That's the message of this film, and it's something that I hope you carry with you long after the screening, and I hope you get to see more of this film, which you can get from Amazon. Thank you so much for being here for this tonight.
Mr. Scarlet, I have, Peter, sorry.
Please.
I have a question. These musicians from several countries were gathered together, all speaking one language actually, because the American didn't know Persian, the Persian didn't know Turkish, etc. The one language they all knew was music.
Mm-hmm.
Are you aware of how difficult gathering those musicians was put up by Yo-Yo Ma? And what attracted them mostly? Was it fleeing their countries at war? Was it the project itself, being able to communicate with people through music?
I think all of those things. I think the reputation of Yo-Yo Ma and the charisma of his personality was obviously a draw. The fact that they were able to get whatever sort of sponsorship enabled them to bring everyone to Massachusetts, to Tanglewood, to the great music fair, and to have people put them up. There, as he said, there was no budget, there was no money for all of this. People just contributed it. They weren't being paid for it. And the excitement and the potential of sharing what they knew and learning from each other is what drew the first group and kept people coming back and has kept them doing this for several years now. It wasn't about making money. It wasn't about fame. It wasn't about all those things that seem to drive so much of what's identified as art these days. It was about something connected to the heart.
How many musicians are there today in the project started a long time ago?
The project began
today?
in 2000, so it's 17 years that it's continued. I think the number varies from year to year.
Approximately?
I think there are over 60.
Wow.
60 came to Tanglewood, and it's about that number that continues. And as their recording career and performing career has continued, because they performed all over the world, they've released 6 albums, it's become a fantastic success.
This mixture of traditional music from all over the world, what were, I mean, we saw here Yo-Yo Ma trying to play to left, to right, or whatever. What were the challenges of making, you know, mixing this music, diluting it all together to come with a piece? What were the challenges of making this happen with so many different instruments, each one representing one different culture?
Well, I think you're using the word diluting is indeed part of the problem, because as he says, various people have challenged it. This is just popularizing it. This is watering down your authentic culture. From one point of view, perhaps it is. From another point of view, it's enriching the culture. I don't think one can keep cultures pure. I think cultures intermingle with each other. And yes, we can lament, oh, things aren't that way, the way they used to be, but generally, the changes are for the better. And I think the success, the fact that they've been able to continue indicates that there's something valuable and important that needs continuing. But that's only my view. And I'm just a guy who brought a movie here to share with you.
Well, we really thank you a lot. This is
Thank you very much.
When I read in the program Music of Strangers, I thought, what is this? Because I missed seeing Yo-Yo Ma, unfortunately, last time. So thank you very much for this very short part of the movie. And sorry for the, timings.
That's okay. It was great to be here.
We'll see Nazi tomorrow, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Okay.
Thank you all. Thank you all for being here. Thank you.